What's up, gang? Hope you're doing well. I'm currently working on a video for the main channel, wanting to talk about different coaching styles, training styles, and one of them that I've just can't get away from. It's the constraints-led approach. We've spoken about it a little bit on this channel, but I figured I'd do a couple videos over here on it so I could get your guys' feedback, but also I could kind of workshop some of these ideas in my head that I'm thinking about and wanting to address. So we're going to watch this video by Breakthrough Basketball. Go like, go subscribe, but this is the constraints-led approach for youth basketball. Game-like drills that build skill and IQ faster. So let's get into it.
Do your players struggle to problem solve in game? Are they constantly looking to you as the coach to provide solutions? If so, let's fix that by using the constraints-led approach, starting with your youth team. In this video, you'll hear from Wisconsin State champ Dave Lepisto, who has used the CLA in his program from the kindergarten through varsity levels. The CLA is simple yet profound. Change the rules, space, time, or defender so players learn by solving game problems.
The way I like to explain constraint-led approach, again, I think all these words and definitions of everything, similar to like all the footwork stuff people talk about, all the ball handling stuff people talk about, something gets lost in the sauce when we get too overcomplicated with it. I explain the constraints-led approach as basically game design. And when you think of it like that, I like constraints-led approach as a tool and not as a entire philosophy. So right here, these girls are playing 3-on-2. It looks like there's some constraints on how they rotate and how they move and all that, forces them to problem solve and self-organize and that sort of stuff. They'll probably talk about it a bit more in the video, but don't get hung up. Try to think about, he's going to say a lot of words and a lot of things, and I'm going to be either shaking my head yes or no. I don't want you to think that's because like I understand every little detail in what he said. Some of this stuff, like the constraints-led approach and ecological whatever it's called, it's ecological psychology, like the whole way they go about ecological development, the whole way they go about all this stuff is still very, the roots of the studies, the roots of its where they started from is old, like really old, like 80 years old. But even with that being said, there's not enough scientific evidence. They always call this the scientific approach. There's not enough scientific evidence to really say like this is like they will say, a lot of people will say CLA is just 100% the way to go in traditional training or static training, or that static drilling there's no effectiveness at all. Anyone that's making claims like that, just, take a breather. Most of the studies are done with like one team or over a short period of time. There's never been any really broad studies that are definitive on this sort of stuff. So think of it as game design, coming up with fun, quirky, cool ways for the kids to experiment while kind of still trying to do the normal objective of the game they're going to be playing.
Coach Lepisto will tell you what the CLA is, how it benefits your players and teams, and will show you one drill with 2 of the 4 constraints he uses to level it up. With the CLA, your players will be ready for whatever the game throws at them. Before we get to the video, be sure to click the link in the description to get your free PDF of 10 small-sided games for player development, complete with diagrams, descriptions, and bonus tips. Now let's dive in.
CLA has really benefited our program. Our players learn how to self-organize through this process. They problem solve. They learn how to play. And again, my goal as a coach is to have kids who are able to play.
And this is not mutually exclusive. I hear people say this stuff all the time. So this is what I highly advocate for, teaching your kids how to play, not teaching them plays. But again, it gets misconstrued, right? Like that's just a quick way to say something that can mean a lot or very little. I still teach plays, right? But I also want the players to be able to learn to self-organize, problem solve, all those sort of things. But at the end of the day, you're still playing a sport with very specific rules. So if you can get the kids to understand those rules and how those rules apply, there's still going to be constraints. There's still going to be like a specific, a more efficient way, a more desirable way to play the game for better outcomes. So doing a specific thing better is still going to benefit you more than players that do a little bit of everything and are always thinking and always problem solving. That also gone too far is like not a very good thing for the players.
Not knowing one play, they know how to make space for each other. And this has really helped us through that process. The other thing that it really benefits us is our kids learn how to play with some creativity. We give them opportunities to make mistakes and to take risks that are right time, right.
And the reason I get frustrated with CLA, people will talk about like constraints-led approach. we let our kids take risk, and constraints-led approach means we let them play with creativity. And it's like, well, no, that's just good coaching, right? That's just good coaching. If you're teaching someone how to fish, and they get ready to cast and they go back like this, and you go, stop, no, you have to do it this way. Then it's like, hold on, you're just a bad person. It's just, you're a bad teacher. But if a kid if they throw try to throw the reel, I don't know, I'm not a fisher, and they don't push the little button, or they don't release the little switch, like, and the line doesn't go, you just laugh. Ha ha ha. You're okay, man. You don't suck. You just got to get a little practice. That doesn't mean you used a constraints-led approach. It means you're a good person. You understand that people aren't perfect and they need practice and they're going to fail. So again, yes, CLA likes to claim that, like, that's what it does, but you can still be using CLA and be a terrible coach with these couple things.
Place and to take chances and not have a fear of failure. And this allows for that. And it really benefits us in the long run because they learn how to adapt and adjust in any situation. Like our kids.
A lot, and not again, this is all like all or nothing, and nothing against him. He seems like a great coach, whatever, blah, blah. I'm just trying to get you guys not to go, man, CLA is what I need to do, because look at all those things it ticks off. You can be a traditional coach that does a lot of static drilling and stuff that I don't prefer, but you can still tick all these boxes, right?
Throughout the time, our high school kids, our varsity players, we just won a state championship. They were able to adapt and adjust multiple styles of play because we have the ability to be able to play multiple ways, because we add those constraints during
the team that won the state championship for the boys in our state last year. They had the best players, just like freak athletes, like just one-on-one they could go score on 3 players at a time. They were just, and pretty much all of them are going D1. They just had the best players. So it's like, yes, this type of team can win a state championship, but also like genetic freaks or really individual one-on-one players can win state championships. Also, there's teams every year we play that are very old school and very like down to the very extreme detail and stationary, and they only pass, they don't get to dribble, and they win a lot of games or they win state championships. So again, there's no one right way to do it. The best approach is probably one that encompasses or takes a little bit of the positives from all those things and tries to get rid of as many negatives as possible.
A year when we're practicing, it might be a specific amount of passes. It might be a specific where we're going to score from, but there's a constraint that the kids have to follow.
This is another argument I always have. There's always constraints. This is why I think the CLA doesn't have as much definitive research on it, definitive studies as many people will have you believe. There's always constraints when you play. When you play basketball, you can't dribble the ball with 2 hands, or it's a travel. So you have to dribble with 1 hand. That's a constraint. So whenever you're coming up with a constraints game, you're just adding different constraints or more constraints. You're always playing with time or against time. You're always playing with the defense, or you are the defense, with someone trying to impede your progress. There's always constraints. So again, this isn't new or revolutionary, but these trends, I've been around for a long time. These trends, they come and go and jump into different industries and whatever. My whole goal is to just not have people just latch on to the idea and start fighting off all these other ideas. Use it as a tool.
And then when they're playing, they're able to problem solve on their own. It's not a coach controlling them on the sideline. They learn how to play. And it's a fun way to play, it's a fun way to learn, and it's really a fun way to coach. You've most definitely heard about the constraint-led approach, but you may not know exactly what it is. It's a way to teach and to coach in which you focus not so much hands-on to try to get kids to do things and to learn, but you shape their learning through constraints. And a constraint is simply a limit or a guide rail to help kids learn. So there are different ways that you can constrain.
So I had a coach, my very first college coach, when I went to JUCO, he was very strict and very detailed. He would put the time of every drill we were going to do on the wall. So we had to get from drill to drill, like everything was so detailed. I've told you guys this, he was a rocket scientist, but he always put constraints on things too. So we were always developing. So when we were running sprints, for example, like say we're running lines, he would be like, you have to alternate your foot every stop. So you'd have to stop and plant with your right foot. Then the next time stop and plant with your left foot. I thought it was the stupidest thing of all time because I like to plant at my left foot because that's when I'm stronger and quicker. But after a full season of that, I was really good at planting and exploding out of either foot. So that's something I've always taken as a coach. When we're doing just basic shooting, static shooting, and where you get two partners, so a rebounder, a passer, and a shooter, so you're getting up a lot of shots. We did static drilling, and a lot of CLA advocates will tell you that there's no time and place for static shooting because it's not game-like. But he would always make us pass with our weak hand. So you'd have to rebound, and if it bounced, if the ball bounced more than once, all of us had to run. All of that group had to run. So that's a constraint on the rebounder. You're hustling for the rebound. But then every time we passed, it had to be with your offhand. So we're developing our offhand passing. We're developing our rebounding and being attentive and focused and locking in. And then also he used that as if you can make 70% from a spot, like you can shoot that in a game. So there's so much going on there. But it was static drill. A lot of people would consider that static drilling, but because he put those little constraints, some people would be like, oh, full on CLA coach. I'm like, he was very traditional, but he just always found these opportunities to make sure we kept learning other skills too.
Three real big constraints. There's a performance constraint, who is actually doing it, the different size of kids, how their quickness is and their skill level at that point. Then there's an environmental constraint, and then there's a task constraint. And the environmental constraint is, your actual environment that you're in and your coaching and learning. But one thing to regard about that environmental constraint is it also takes into account your culture, your team culture, and the culture that the kids learn in. So in our video today, you're gonna see lots of opportunities of kids showing how to be fun to play with. And that's a huge thing and a huge part of our program success. Task constraints, again, are just those simple things you can change, the type of equipment, the size of the area that you're playing in. And it's a great way to shape the learning for our players. As an elementary Phi-Ed teacher for over 31 years, I've used a constraint-led approach pretty much my whole time. As a Phi-Ed.
And again, I would challenge, I'm going to have a conversation. I've got one lined up with someone in the future. It's hopefully a really good one. Based on this basically, but to me, it's like, what is the difference between constraints-led approach and traditional coaching? Like, what's that real gray area? So my thoughts are, there's people right here that are me. There's like quite a few other coaches where I'm like, yeah, use everything as tools. You're kind of in the gray area. Sometimes do this, sometimes do this. But lately it's just a lot of like, never do this or always do this. And so I'm kind of in the middle, like, what, hold on, what's the difference between constraints and what's a non-constraint coaching session look like? It's just really how reductive do you want to get?
Teacher, you learn how to use...
Actually, that's not a constraint because...
use different constraints to get kids to move in different areas and to use different pieces of equipment. And CLA fits with my goal as a coach, which is to be a positive influencer who makes myself redundant by allowing our athletes to make great, effective decisions. They commit to those decisions with intent, and then they're able to...
Let's have a look at this, because I've been here, right? So this, to me, I'm like, constraints-led approach. I don't know what the constraints of this game are, but I'm almost positive he probably had the same reaction to this play right here that I had. That you can break this down any way you want to, especially when you're coaching young players, young girls especially. They thrive off of, like, once you get their confidence and get them believing in themselves. That's the toughest thing for young girls. They just not having that confidence. Whereas boys are the opposite. They have too much, kind of got to reel them in a little bit. Goes for the steal, doesn't get it. One dribble, 2 feet in the key, attacks the rim, like really good shot, probably a pretty decent shot. She probably can only make 3 out of 10 of those, right? But eventually she'll get to a point where that's 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. So right here, watch her head. Oh, she puts her head back. So as a coach, look, he's about to say something, and instead of being like, that's not the shot because you missed, I'm assuming he'd be like, hey, that's the shot we want. Great job. You drove, one dribble, wide open. Shoot it, keep shooting. The more of those you shoot, the better you'll get. I don't think that's constraints coaching. I just think that's being a good coach.
To self-reflect and evaluate and be able to adapt and adjust
Yeah, asking a lot of questions. Again, I think it's just good communication, good coaching,
in just about any.
good leadership.
And that ability to adapt and adjust is a huge part of CLA. You know, CLA fosters a creativity and enjoyment for kids because they are put into situations where there's a movement challenge and they have to come up with an answer. And again, we shape that as the coach with how we add a constraint to it.
Turnovers, wild heaves, panic timeouts. Sound familiar? Chaos is part of learning, but you can speed the curve. Introducing CLA Youth Basketball Drills with Coach Dave Lepisto, a modern constraints-led approach.
And this would probably be pretty good too. I do think one negative to the CLA approach is you just have to study a lot and you have to put a lot of work in. And a lot of coaches that are coaching are volunteer coaches or just parents, you know, like they just don't have the time. CLA, if you do all the like research, not research, but if you're like coming up with games or you have someone who's giving you good games based on your teams or playing style, it's really good. But again, this is where America's kind of done not a great job of having like top down organization. So this would be where when we were in Australia, for example, we just ran the same plays that the national teams or Olympic teams would run. So their play style is what would drop down to the next professional league. Then it would go down to the juniors, and then all the juniors, I would just implement all the same stuff that those the national team did, because then I could be like, hey, what kind of drills are you guys using? What kind of small-sided games? What's your points of emphasis? Blah, blah, blah. And I could break that down to a very, very like basic understanding so that some of our kids that got really good, they understood the building blocks, so when they'd go to tryouts for the national team or the Olympic teams, they had a good opportunity because they're like, yeah, I've been doing this my whole life. Here in America, we don't really have that, right? Every state has their different high school rules, pretty much, like different points of emphasis. Every level that you play has different points of emphasis and different rules. Like every team you go to is going to be running completely different offenses and styles of play. So again, CLA, it's just one of those things that I do think it is very good. It is a very good tool, but I don't know how many people have the time for this, and it's just really tough. Now, in an ideal world, yes, do your study, put small-sided games together. I haven't seen this book or seen these apps or whatever, but honestly, it seems like if you don't have the time, this might be a good guide for you. But just also knowing that some schools, some of their battles are actually just getting the kids to show up to practice. It's just getting the kids eligible. You know what I mean? There's so much more that goes into basketball, I think. And that's why it's like throwing CLA and ecological dynamic, all this stuff onto coaches and players. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So
Tweak rule.
Don't feel like you're way behind or anything. This is just, it takes a while to get into and understand, but once you do, it's probably pretty game changing.
Space or tasks, so players learn by doing. Using the CLA builds problem solvers, raises IQ, cuts turnovers, creates better finishers and better spacing, all while making practice fun. Here's what you get: a 20-minute CLA masterclass.
Now, see, I'd say a lot of this is could be considered static drilling. I mean, I do these types of drills, but this is the sort of stuff that I get a lot of CLA people telling me like there's no sense in doing it anymore. Like, look at the amount of kids that are standing on the side. One thing you're always trying to do. This is one thing I find hilarious about America. He looks like he's doing a decent job. I don't know if he has an assistant coach in there with him, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've had to do a lot of this too, right? And he's done this forever, so he's probably pretty good at organizing and blah, blah, blah. But I would not expect a normal coach to be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it looks like 5 in a group, at least 20 players here, one coach, and they're all on different baskets, and getting them to do these drills and understand. Like, it's really tough to do. So again, I just think that's good coaching. It's just, I just think it's good coaching. But this is not normal. I would not expect most coaches to be able to do this, especially this age group, getting these girls organized and paying attention.
Using the CLA builds problem solvers, raises.
But yeah, there's a lot of static stuff going on here too. But because he split them up on all these baskets and he's using all the goals, they're not standing for a long time. You always want to minimize the time they're standing. What the point I was going to make here in America, like we've got he's got 1, 2, 3. So I'm assuming there's 6 baskets in here. for whatever reason in America, we're just like, just use these 2 baskets. No, split them up even to smaller groups and let them get on all the baskets so we're getting more reps. More reps is better, so we can move on to the next thing quicker.
IQ cuts turnovers, creates better finishers and better spacing, all while making practice fun. Here's what you get: a 20-minute CLA masterclass, 2 hours and 40 minutes of on-court drills, a quick start guide, plus 2 bonus ebooks, taught by Dave Lepisto, who has 30 plus years teaching and coaching, and who won a 2025 Wisconsin State title using the CLA from his youth feeder program through his varsity team.
Well, that's the difference, right? Youth feeder program up to varsity. So it sounds like he's got point of contacts all the way up through. So he is able to do the top-down approach we talked about. And that's when I think CLA, that's when I think any coaching style, to be honest, works the best, when there's like a top-down approach. Thank you to whoever subscribed. Whenever there's like a direct line.
Get instant access to the link in the description, backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee.
We start this as soon as our kids get into our program, which for us, it ends up being in 1st grade, kindergarten and 1st grade. And when we start...
I like it. Start them young. But at the same time, most of you don't have access to that. You're just coaching for 1 year or whatever.
We're working on squashing the bugs with our stride stop. And we're able to use a language that the kids can understand. So when we're working on veering a defender, we're using that visual of a tree and breaking through branches and things like that. So the great part is the skills that kindergartners and 1st graders are using.
Again, this is what I mean. I just think this is good coaching, and I don't think it needs a name, constraints led or whatever. This is just a drill, and you're getting them to do the drill. There's a lot of misconceptions that majority of coaches only do old school, very static, very one-dimensional drills. And they do that from beginning of the season to the end. Again, those are just bad coaches. Those are just bad coaches. It's not traditional. It's not traditional coaching style. This CLA is not a revolutionary coaching style. Like this, it's been around for 80 years or whatever. And he said he's been using it his whole time as a teacher. So I think the best coaches are teachers, people that can communicate with other humans. Again, I'm working on something on my own that I'm going to hopefully bring all this together and make a lot more sense in a more cohesive video. But I really urge you guys not to get caught up on the terminologies. And like I said, he just seems like a really good coach.
Great part is the skills that kindergartners and 1st graders are using, it just recycles and goes year after year after year. And our varsity kids are doing the exact same thing.
How many times have you guys heard me say that on the channel? My coaching approach, like you've seen me point out things with like the pro leagues that we break down, or the D1 college that we break down, or down to the YouTube one-on-ones we break down to high school, any level. The things that the young under 12 kids, that's why we say, if you want to learn how to coach, go coach under 12s. Go coach under 12 girls, under 12 boys, see the difference, and then be like, okay, if you can coach those 2 effectively, you can coach under 18 boys. I promise you. You can coach high school boys if you can coach under 12 girls. But if you can teach it to them at a young age, that means you are clear, concise with your words. You can explain it well enough. You can show them and teach well enough. When you get to the older age groups, they still need all that stuff. They still need the same things. They can just get away with more because typically they're taller, more athletic, more skilled, whatever.
Now they're stride stopping, they're using their half donut, their full donut, their bagel, all of that in kindergarten. It does not look good. It is ugly, and it's okay. It gets there, they learn it. And with your consistency of language and constant adding constraints to try to get kids to move in a particular way to that they have to solve a problem, it gets better. And then that's when they really feel that success. And once they have success, that they know they're skilled, they have fun, and that keeps happening, and it's really exponential. Again, when they get to us at our varsity level, everything you're gonna see today or see in this video series, our varsity kids do. We work on our stride stops, we play one-on-one, we play two-on-two, we play all of those different things. And we're still able to add more to make sure that they have to problem solve. So it's a great way to teach. Okay, this is our 3-on-3-on-3. This group, we have 4 teams, so we had 12 kids. So we're just going 4 teams of 3. And there's quick change of possession, basically Olympic 3-on-3. So it's like Olympic 3-on-3 rules, where the quick change of possession, they don't have to take it out, they're taking it back behind the 3-point line. I'm going to start with allowing them to just do anything, and then I'm going to make some constraints for them to see.
See this, and this is what I mean. Like, so some people will advocate. He just seems like a great coach. I can just, again, a lot of coaching is teaching, but it's a lot of like your culture and how you've like built it up through over time and refined it. He just seems like he's got it very refined. He understands. I would not expect any of you to be able to get 12 girls. These seem like 10-year-olds, 9-year-old, 10 to 12-year-olds. I would not expect you to get 10 to 12-year-olds, 12 girls, and be able to get them organized and ready to go. Even standing still, locked in, ready to go. I know they're being goofy. This is just what girls do, right? But I'm like, they're standing in their spots. They're standing in line. They're still doing it. This is very good. This part by itself is hard. So people think it's the drill, or they think it's some magic thing they're missing. No, it's like, it's the respect, but it's also probably keeping the practice going so they're engaged and constantly moving on to the next thing. That's the stuff that I notice. But this is where constraints, people will hyper focus and be like, okay, so the drill is what's important. So let them do everything. And then you add constraints. And it's like, yeah, but again, there's a culture piece. There's a learning piece. He's also already taught them to take in information and then apply that information too, I'm assuming. So there's a lot more that goes on here. And I just think it's just being a good coach and then having constraints led approach as tools in your tool belt.
If they can score in particular ways. Okay, 3 on 3 on 3. Okay, ready? Here we go, game on.
And yeah, this is where a coach would typically go, stop. And this is what I want to point out. This is just coaching on the run, being comfortable with the chaos or comfortable with the mess. And he talked about that earlier too. The amount of times I see a coach, like right here, some of you in the comments were probably about to say something too. She threw it, she cut to the ball. She's like clouding muddying up the lane, like she's taking away driving space. Coaches will stop it right there. Stop. And then be like, why did you cut over there? You got in our way and blah, blah. Instead, it's like, let them play. Wait until you see it happen every play. Wait till you see it happen 4 or 5 times, but let them get the reps first. The reps is more important. Let them figure it out, because you're going to do that in a game accidentally too, right? So I'd probably start counting down. 5,
6,
4,
5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, good. Change it.
And then right here, you're like, next group, next group, next group. Just get them going, like locked in, engaged, always on the sideline, ready to go sort of stuff. He just seems like a good coach.
Red, get, go, 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 go. Blue, you're out. Blue, get out.
Again, trying to speed them up, but giving direction.
Good, attack space. Good, side stride, stop. Good, go. Yellow's in. Get in, yellow, get in, yellow.
And see, this is pretty chaotic. There's a lot going on. Let's see what he says here if he addresses that stuff. He does. So it doesn't break it down, but that was pretty chaotic, right? It got to this point where like the girls didn't even fully get on in time. But again, this is where coaches get frustrated and mad. She doesn't look engaged. She doesn't look ready to go. Red is already taking the ball out. This girl that's dominating right now, just getting every bucket. And then you got this girl not paying attention. Like, she's never going to be anything. Again, you got to remember, she might be 8. You know, she's thinking about Peppa Pig and just anything else, Dora the Explorer, anything else other than getting dunked on right here, right? But this is building that. This is building the organization, building the getting ready. Like you said, we start them at a young age, keep them organized. In 3 months' time, maybe she's locked in, ready to go, and constantly getting to those spots. Doesn't mean like she's going to be the one dunking and she's going to be the one scoring, but if she's just learning how to focus and get to the next spot and be there, now you go play another team full of players that haven't built this culture and readiness and alertness. Again, that's how you win a state championship, right? You build a team like that, and then hopefully you do have a girl that can 360 windmill at 12 years old.
Get in, yellow.
And see, no need to stop it all the time. Maybe you stop it after a few more of those, and then you rotate the team or something else. But let them go. Let them mess up. Let it get chaotic.
Okay. Now, red, you had the ball right here. Yellow, you're on defense. Okay. Everybody listen.
Yeah. Let kids figure out the drill before.
Right now, in the possession to start with. Okay. The ball is going to start over by Veda. And the ball has to go from that side to right here. Throw it. from right here to right over there. Freeze. Now it's game on. Do you get it? So when the next group comes in, if the ball starts on this side, where does it have to get to? The other side before you can score.
This seems like a good coach.
Let's touch there.
Think about the way he's talking to these girls as well. He's like asking them to answer the question. They're not idiots, right? But we always feel as coaches, we got to be the ones to like, no, you do this and you do, giving them the answer. That's, I think, what constraints-led approach tries to address is like asking questions, let them figure it out. But it's really, he's still guiding them. He's just guiding them with a little bit of direction, hold their hand a little bit. And then once they figure it out, yeah, let them go, let them explore a little bit.
Side, where does it have to get to? The other side before you can score, okay? It's just got to touch there. Now, if this person is guarded, what does she have to do?
Donut, half donut, or bagel? Is that what he's going to say?
Cut. What does it make sense for Veda to do? Fill. But does she want to fill really fast? No, she chills for a little bit and then fills, okay? And we'll talk about why in a little bit right here. But it's got to go from one side to the other. Does everybody get it? So you have to go from one side to the other before you score. Okay, ready? Here we go. Start with it by, good. Start it, ready, set, go, game on. Got to get to free, that's it, good, got open, game on. Now you're playing. Think about how you could get open. Woo, good move, good, red, go. Started on one side, got to get to the other. Good, it's got to get to the other side. That's it, now play. Keep playing. Good, think space. So now I just want them to reverse the basketball from one side to the other. Just it makes a constraint on them that they have to think about a ball reversal. Good, get it reversed. Next. And it's part of our being able to be fun to play with. Ball's got to move. Blue, get in there. Good. Get it reversed, one side to the other. Quick.
Yeah, this is good.
After we get from one...
All right, so he's just going to show another drill.
We hope you enjoyed this.
Oh, and then they're doing their free PDF. So yeah, this might be something that interests some of you coaches. Let me know what you think about this. Like, what do you hear about the constraints-led approach? Do you hear about other types of approaches, ecological dynamics, like traditional style? Like, again, what is your coaching philosophy? This is something I think is very important. You don't need to have a word for it, but what is your coaching philosophy? How are you trying to improve your players? It's very important to have because you're going to get to points in the season where you're like, we're losing games, blah. But if you can go back to, hold on, it wasn't about winning. It was about developing, improving, blah, blah, blah. Are we doing that? We are. Okay, I'm on the right track. Just have what your coaching philosophy is. Like I said, I'm gonna do a deep dive on this and on the main channel and give you guys what I think is a really good coaching style for anybody. I think it will work at any level, any sport, any industry. Again, I've just been very fortunate to be a teacher, coach, and when I say teacher, not teaching school, but just like I've been a teacher, mentor, coach for such a long time that I've got to experiment with a lot of different things too. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Go subscribe, Breakthrough Basketball, and I'll see you guys in the next one.